You're tuned into the Writing Community Chat Show, the live streaming YouTube podcast that brings you the stories of authors, screenwriters, and more. Indie or established, this show's for the community, and we invite you to be a part of it. Head to the writingcommunitychatshow.com for more info. The WCCS, together as one, we get it done.
Hi, my name is Chris. With me is Chris, and you are watching the Writing Community Chat Show. Hello everybody, and welcome to the Writing Community Chat Show. Yes, we have yet another bonus show for you, and it is of course the festive season, so why shouldn't we indeed? And we are celebrating, we surely are. I'm your host, Chris, obviously, and sat with me is Chris, just to make it even more complicated. And we're very excited to be joined today by Izzie Harper, who is also known as Vicky Newham. We're going to find out a very good story today about someone who's gone from traditional publishing into self-publishing and who's just released a very cool Christmas book. So we're looking forward to that. Hello, Chris. How are you doing?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
Good, because today is the first day of my Christmas holidays. I've just finished work today, and that is it until next week, and the festivities have begun.
Nice. You're in relaxation mode right now.
I certainly am, yeah. I'm looking forward to it and spending time with friends and family and all that good stuff. Thank you to everyone in the chat. It's great to see you there already. It's really impressive that you guys have managed to commit to tuning into these shows despite us throwing them at you willy-nilly lately in the best kind of way. So thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. And you say you're in relaxation mode at the moment, Chris, but you're not, because you've got a very big party to organise that, unfortunately for you, keeps getting bigger because I keep adding to it.
That is absolutely true. On Friday, you may have noticed, we might have plugged that a little bit, that there is the WCCS festive Christmas party on Friday that you're all very much invited to. And it's becoming something of a big task to organise, but it should turn out to be a very, very fun show for you guys. And we've got a lot of special guests coming into the show that will pop in for a couple of minutes at a time, maybe 5 minutes at a time, to talk to us, to catch up, to have a drink. And at the end of that, we will put a team together to face Chris Hooley's team. So we need 5 guests that will join us to have a quiz off for Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest decision I've got at the moment is what to come dressed as, because obviously on the Writing Community Chat Show, we tend to dress up when we have a party. So I've got 2 options. I'm either going to try and dye my beard white and come as, Chris Crinkle himself type thing.
Obviously, yes.
Or I might go for the more sort of 80s pop band wizard look with the bit of the makeup and the white glittery beard. And yeah, I don't know yet. I've decided.
I see our guest in the background. She's doing this. But also, Chris, I hadn't thought about that at all. So do I need to prepare some sort of outfit?
Yeah, I mean, normally, Chris, you set the tone. So, maybe you could be a little elf or something like that.
Okay, I'll see what I can do. Brandon in the comments says, is that a chalice? And I think he's referring to my beer glass. No, it's not a chalice, but it is golden rimmed.
That's almost as big as your head.
It's not
I
far
can tell
off.
you're in relaxation mode.
Yeah, he said 80s pop for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Wizard. So Wizard the band fancy dress, yeah?
Do you reckon we get sued if I come on and go, it's Christmas?
Well, hopefully not, because, they wouldn't get much from us, Chris, let's be honest.
That's true. Maybe we just do it then.
Yeah. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We have got some giveaways. Some of the audience, in fact, some of the amazing writing community members have said that they can donate some of their ebooks. We've got a bit of merch to give away as well. And we'll be trying to solve some puzzles throughout the show to reveal a special keyword that then unlocks a giveaway. So you must tune in to help the giveaways become a reality, and we will do what we can to try and to make your night very entertaining whilst getting a little tipsy, all in the humorous nature of festivities and Christmas time.
Yeah, sorry, mate. I saw that comment and I couldn't not show it.
It's very funny because usually I control the comments. So I thought I didn't press that, and then I saw the reaction, the answer. So yeah, Thank you very much. Big head. Yeah.
Yeah.
So please tune in Friday, and what we really want to see is a lot more people from the reading community as well jumping into this Friday, because we want to do giveaways to a bit of everybody, and we're giving away your books as well. So if you can, get the word spread nice and wide.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, if you can spread the word far and wide, it would be absolutely amazing, because that means we can get more people involved in our community, and we can really celebrate the end of the year, which has been a long one for most people. So let's get that celebrated well.
Yeah, I don't
Chris,
know what that olive oil comment was. I just thought it's good to put on the screen.
Do you know what? In this show, we're 3 years in March, and we've done over 220 shows now, I think. And every single time that these certain people are in the chat, not pointing fingers, but you know who you are, it's always when there's a serious conversation with a guest, and we'll be nodding away like our nodding dogs that we do, and then I'll look down and I'll be like trying not to laugh, because they're saying something really rude and funny and inappropriate, which is fantastic, but while someone's saying something serious, so it's really quite fun and difficult. But I wouldn't swap it for anything. Ross says Hooley can't be trusted with the comments.
No.
And Joe says, Halo, I've got a 3-gallon bottle of olive oil.
Wow.
Not sure why. Halo says we're very well behaved. And Joanne says angels.
Ooh, what was the last one, mate?
As big as Agat's head. Oh, sorry. There you go. So I'm going to ignore these nasty and inappropriate comments. Mermaid sex. We'll leave that one there, because we need to get our guest on, Chris. Enough chitter chatter. Yep. Right. So I'm just going to introduce our guest so we can go on. So tonight's guest is an author, a podcaster, a blogger, someone who offers writing services, workshops, and has a writing academy. Her latest book, Murder at the Christmas Carols, came out in November. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Vicky Newham. Hello, Vicky.
Hello. Thank you very much indeed for inviting me on.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. Absolutely love the antlers, by the way.
Well, you know, got to make an effort.
Yeah, and you got some little Christmas lights in the background.
Yeah, love my fairy lights.
Amazing. How are you doing, Vicky?
Very good, thank you. I've got my rhubarb and ginger gin.
Ooh.
Nice.
So I forgot to buy tonic water, so I've got gin and water and ice. But you know, it's quite nice.
I'm not sure if that's something I've tried before, gin and water, but you know, there's always time for that. Those antlers are bomb. I'm assuming that means good, right? Vicky, brilliant to have you. Where are you coming from in the world?
So I'm in Deal on the Kent coast in England.
And
nice.
how is the weather in Kent at the moment?
Yeah, sort of grey and sludgy. Unfortunately, no snow. But hey, that's good. Warmed up. It's tropical. It's a tropical 12 degrees today.
Isn't it bonkers how we went from being absolutely ice cold? And the irony is, my heating was broke for weeks on end, and it was like -3, 4, 5 degrees. And I fixed the heating, it becomes 12 degrees again.
Exactly. It's your fault. Yeah.
It is. Yeah. Sorry, I'll turn it off again. It'd be fine. So again, thank you so much for being here, and we really look forward to delving into everything about kind of your career at the moment, and hearing some stories from you. But how it always starts is rewinding the tape a little bit and finding out where writing came from in your life, because it's very good to find out the inspirations first before we move on to the rest of it. So Vicky, where did it all come from for you, and what was the inspiration?
Yeah, so I was thinking about this. I can't remember not writing. I mean, as a kid, I just loved just writing stupid things. But before it was kind of falling in love with stories. Actually, it's language. It's always been about language for me. So I did language A-levels. I did French, German, and Spanish. I did French and German for my first degree, and loved doing linguistics, and just just been obsessed always with language. And then stories sort of came a bit, I don't know, stories had always been in there, but slightly. And then I realised, obviously, there's a relationship, between the two. So, Enid Blyton, under the covers as a kid, like many of us, I'm sure. And then graduated to sort of Agatha Christie and Simenon, and just kind of always loved mysteries, really. Yeah. So somehow then found myself teaching. So I was a teacher for 10 years, and all this time I was trying to write a novel, except I couldn't quite decide what genre I wanted to write in. And it wasn't really until I left teaching in 2012. I was looking at the dates today, actually. 10 years ago, literally 2012, at the end of 2012, December 2012, I committed to seeing if I could get a novel published.
Wow. And what was that process like, Vicky, in terms of, obviously you've talked there about having a career, which some people I think would be a bit reluctant to jump out of, because, with teaching, you've got the security element. But then obviously jumping into writing a novel, that's something that's more of a dream rather than a career. What made you take that leap? How did you make that decision?
Yeah. Well, I'm a very happily escaped teacher. I love teaching. I still teach. I just don't ever want to teach in a system again. So I was kind of trying to figure out really, how to escape. And I was listening to your chat with Alexandra. And there's some parallels there, because I ended up with burnout. I ended up with the most hideous burnout from working all day, then doing marking and prep in the evening and working weekends as well. And so the burnout basically made me realize I had to leave teaching in a school. And that was literally 10 years ago, almost to the day, bizarrely. So I didn't have a plan. There was no plan. But my mum, my mum wasn't well, and also I thought life's too short to spend a lot of your working day doing something really that is really stressful, that you don't enjoy. I love the teaching part, but I hated the school and the system and the political part of teaching. So there was no plan. There was no plan. There was no exit route. There was no safety net at all. It was literally a leap into the unknown. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to see if I can, write a novel, some novels, and see if I can get one published. And that was what I'm a very determined person. So I just kind of set my mind to sort of Twitter, using Twitter for research, trying to find out as much as I could about publishing, about crime fiction authors, went to the LBF, set up a writing group, which I ran in the library. I started running workshops, for other writers, and just kind of tried to learn as much as I could. And that included learning about self-publishing. So that's kind of been on the back burner a bit for me, really, since 2012.
It's really interesting when you speak there about taking that leap into writing your first couple of novels. And despite you saying that you've written kind of since you can remember, had you written with that kind of A, the pressure, and B, that kind of structure before?
No, neither at all. And I kind of set myself targets of doing 1,000 words a day, 7 days a week. And I enrolled also for an MA in creative writing, mainly because I was kind of teaching myself from books, like lots of us do, trying to teach myself. But the one thing I was lacking was feedback. You can write and then you can be doing stuff all wrong and just writing stuff that's really shit. But I just wanted feedback, basically. So that's where I thought, with kind of 2 modules that do workshopping, there's delightful workshops, and it was really great. It was fantastic. So in my first year of that, I kind of did my 1,000 words a day, 7 days a week, and wrote my first novel. Rewrote it a million times. I was just getting ready to send it out to agents, and then some huge name crime author published a flipping book with exactly the same plot. Wow. So I thought, as a debut author, this isn't going to work. So I pulled mine, and then just thought, I needed to think about how to rework the plot, basically. I mean, of course it would have been different, but to have your debut novel that's really similar to something that's just come out previously by a huge crime fiction, would not be a good look. So I used the second year of my MA and my dissertation. I had Juliet Mushrooms as my dissertation supervisor. And I thought, this is an opportunity that's too good to miss. So I used that as the opportunity to start my second, novel. And that was the one that became my debut.
Wow. Did you, in that moment when because obviously it sounds like you navigated it brilliantly, but can you take us to the oh shit moment where you were like torn between your job and your dream, and there was a bit where you were like, is this going to happen for me? Because I can imagine there was a moment where that happened, and how you got through that.
Well, to be honest with you, the oh shit moments carried on for 10 years.
As they do for most of us, I think.
Yeah. So, as I said, there was no escape route and there wasn't a safety net. So basically it's been oh shit ever since then, but hey, it's been fantastic. There's been so much learning, and, as we'll probably talk about, loads of things have gone brilliantly and amazingly right, and loads of things have gone just amazingly wrong.
So take us to that, Juliet. Yeah, exactly. Take us to Juliet and Juliet Mushrooms, and you've obviously got her as your dissertation supervisor. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. So obviously she's got quite a big reputation. So what was your mindset going into that dissertation in terms of, I'm going to hand this piece over to this person that's big in the publishing world that could potentially launch my career? How did you decide what to write, what to pitch to that person, and just navigate that?
Yeah, I'd already decided what I wanted to write. And so I kind of had the plot for Turn a Blind Eye, which is behind me, kind of in my mind the whole time since I started teaching. So that was in 2002 when I was teaching in Tower Hamlets in a school, state school in Stepney. So I had this plot to kind of write something that was very multicultural, multicultural setting, a Bangladeshi cop, Bangladeshi detective, etc. And one of the reasons that I was so thrilled to have Juliet as my dissertation supervisor was so that I could sort of mine her amazing, expertise and experience and guidance, to write something that I'd lived in that area for 4 years and I taught in that area for 4 years, but obviously that's not my lived experience. And so my goal really was simply to learn as much from her as possible and to learn as much from the opportunity as possible. And also, if we can have a bit of fun, because Juliet's great fun and I like a laugh, then that was icing on the cake. And we did both.
Love that.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. I'd really kind of like to know then where your genre in direction was at the start. And obviously you're coming into Christmas books now.
Yeah.
At what point did you decide Christmas books or writing Christmas novels was for you? And kind of where did you want to go at the start? And has that changed much since then?
Yeah, it's changed a lot. So obviously, those novels, the Vicky Newham novels, are police procedurals. So they're very gritty, very, very urban, quite very dark. And now I'm writing, warm, gentle, cozy mysteries. Set in a lovely, quaint English village. So I have literally gone, pivoted from, one end of the crime fiction spectrum to the other. So after my dissertation thing, so I spent about a year, I think, kind of rewriting 8 billion times that book. Obviously, having had Juliet, one of the reasons I was so thrilled to have Juliet as my dissertation supervisor was because, I'd kind of always had my heart set on having her as my agent. And then because she's so busy, she opens for subs and closes and opens and closes. And so, she kept being closed when I thought I was just about, right, this bloody thing's ready to send out now. And then, oh, damn it, she's closed for subs. So anyway, that didn't quite work out. I did submit to her in the end. But yeah, so I sent that book out and then very quickly got an agent. I actually did one of her masterclasses, on how to submit and how to get an agent. And I literally followed her instructions to the T. I did everything, that she said. And I just think was very lucky. It just worked very quickly and very well for me. I mean, I got offers of representation from about 7 agents. Wow. So I kind of, it was a lovely position. And then after that, my book went out on submission to publishers and also to production companies. And before I got my book deal, we actually had interest registered from 7 different production companies to option the book for TV.
Nice.
And so, you know, that happened really fast. And then the book deal happened really fast. And so then, you know, this was the bit. So going from nothing to kind of like, oh my God, you know, this is amazing. You know, this is unbelievable. This can't be happening. And kind of try not to think, oh, this is too good to be true. Because that's a bit kind of, you know, I don't know. What's the word? Not suspicious. Oh my God, you know, when you walk onto a ladder, what's the word when you... Oh.
Superstitious.
Yeah, superstitious. That's it. Suspicious, superstitious. Very nearly there, Vicky. Well done. Yeah. Don't think it's, you know, too good to be true. And then basically, yeah. So, you know, having your first book, getting an agent quickly, the book deal, you know, the TV option, etc. Yeah, it just was, you know, it was amazing and exciting. And so then Turn a Blind Eye was published. So my publisher chose it as their event title for 2018. So that meant their biggest title, you know, of the first half of the year. And so, like, you know, then of course you're thinking, well, hopefully that means a nice marketing budget. And again, things just looked like they were going to go really well. And then they just didn't. One by one, everything just fell away. So the production company, which happens very common. I mean, you know, it's very, very rare that the option actually, you know, gets
made.
Whatever. Yeah, exactly. So, you know, I just thought go for the ride, enjoy it, you know, have the lunches, laugh the laughs, you know, do the stuff, etc. And so they optioned it for 18 months, but then the lady who bought it left Playground and then moved on to a different production company, and then they decided not to renew it, you know, which is very common. So that fell away. In fact, that fell away before Turn a Blind Eye was published. And then Turn a Blind Eye didn't sell. It just didn't sell in the way that my publisher anticipated that it would. And so the second one, I was doing the edits then. I knew things weren't right. You know, I kept asking questions, but anyway, we were doing edits on the second one, Out of the Ashes. And then just before that was due to be published, they said they decided not to continue with the series. So that's what happened with that one.
So how sorry, Chris.
Okay.
I was just
probably going to ask the same question I'm going to ask is how did you take that as an author who at the time was feeling like you were going in the right direction? How did you then take that as a constructive criticism? How did that affect you as an author and your confidence?
Yeah, I mean, in lots of ways, and I'll be completely honest about it. I kind of was half expecting it because I knew that things, you know, I kind of got a sense that, you know, that things weren't right, although nothing was articulated, you know, etc. And also, you know, I know how common it is. You know, we all know, don't we? You know, we've all got lots of friends in the industry, and you know how often it happens. Basically, the books start to sell, and then, you know, etc. So yeah, it wasn't a huge shock, but I didn't want to continue writing something if it wasn't going to sell, you know. So I just kind of thought, look, you know, you need to get your reindeer horns off, Vicky, put your pragmatic head on, and you know, you get your head around this. But I was okay about it, and also they were very enthusiastic about my writing, and they didn't want to kind of let me go. They just said, you know, can you write some thrillers for us? But unfortunately, what happened was it coincided with my editor then leaving, so I kind of fell between stools. And I think in this situation, the bit that was hard for me was that my agent at the time, I think kind of how it's framed, you know, what happens afterwards can be really critical to how things affect you. And my agent at the time said that it would be very difficult for me to then get another publishing contract. So he said that I now have, I don't know when it goes away, if it ever does, bad track, and that it would be very difficult, for me to get another publishing contract. And he's kind of said it would need to be, you know, there were jokes about it would need to be, you know, Gillian Flynn F off amazing in order for me to get a publishing contract. And so for me, the way I kind of heard that, really, he didn't say it, but it's, I think, the way my brain heard it, was kind of really, my career's over. It's over. So it was really, it was really hard, because I thought, well, where do I go from here? Because of course, who of us, we'd all love to write a book as good as Gillian Flynn's. But I just thought, well, of course I can't do it, so I might as well kind of give up then. I mean, I sort of didn't, but there was an element of that, of it's over.
Did you ever have the urge to say to people around you and publishers and stuff that, sometimes that longevity that people are after takes at least 3 or 4 books for a character to really take off? We've had Ian Rankin on the show, and I absolutely love him, but he wasn't popular from book 1. It took a few, Michael Connolly is the same, took a few books to build the character. And I know if it was me in that position, I'd have been just give me time. I just need a bit more time.
No, there isn't really. I mean, also the crazy stroke sad thing about it, was that, at Crime Fest, I sat down with my editor, because I said, look, I'd like to just understand, if that's okay, what all of your reasons are for this decision, just so I can kind of think going forward, make any changes that I need to anything with regards to myself or my writing or my projects, or whatever. And then I found out that the book that hadn't sold had been long listed, and then it was shortlisted for the John Christie debut Dagger.
Wow.
So kind of despite that, it was kind of I did think, and people said, oh, I bet they'll change their mind now, but I knew they wouldn't, because I knew once they made that decision. And also, when I thought about it, I thought, actually, I think they decided this quite a while ago. When my editor went through all of the factors and the way they look at it, I think I realised they've known this for some time.
So were you not in a position, sorry, Chris, were you not in a position to take that book somewhere else and say, do you know what, this is book 1, but I have book 2, 3, and 4 booked in, well, can somebody else take it and do wonders with it?
No, because my contract with them was for the 2 books. So they said, we'll publish the next one, but we just won't do any marketing or promotion, sort of for it. So that was kind of, where things were. So, I looked to my agent at the time, for a steer, with, well, what about using a pen name? And he just kind of said, well, pen names don't work, because publishers just basically say, well, who is this person? And then they just go and look up your book sales anyway. So, and also so we put together, I put together sample chapters and synopses for 3 different thrillers, basically, and we sent them over. But because my editor had left, and a couple of other editors had left as well, they just kind of said, we haven't got anyone to give it to, so it's going to have to be no. So, I went back to my agent and said, okay, well, where now then? And he just kind of said, well, I actually think none of these are, past muster, was his expression, really. You're going to have to start again, and I thought, I've spent months now, I'm running out of money. I've spent months working on 3 things. One of them he really liked, and one of them he really, really, really liked, and one of them he just thought was kind of okay. And I thought he'd say, well, why don't you write the one, I don't know, but he didn't. He just basically said, I think you're going to have to go start again. And I just thought,
this is what's really kind of blowing my mind, is how this show, me and Chris are a good example of how the writing community and everyone within it and the people we interact with, we really want to lift and encourage and help develop. And the publishing industry, from what kind of the angle you're coming from as well, do very much the opposite at the time, where unless you're offering them something there and then on the plate, they don't want it. So where is their ambition to help someone to grow that author, even if they're not directly giving them that instant access to sales? Do you know what I mean? Why is there not a system there to say, okay, this is what you need to do this, then come back, rather than just say no? Do you know what I mean? I think that's a fundamental issue they've got there.
Yeah. So anyway, I just came to the conclusion, it took me a while really, that I just needed fresh eyes on my work, because, I just did. So that's kind of, that's what I did. But I was left with, this with writer's block, and I've just kind of always, I don't know, just wonder whether writer's block was a thing or something. But I felt so confused by everything really, and so demoralized. I just thought, I don't know, obviously what I'm writing is crap. I don't know now what I want to do, etc. So it took a long time to decide what I wanted to write next, really. And then I ended up broke. I mean, just literally down to my last few £100 in lockdown, and then that's not fun. So I had to stop writing completely, sort of for 6 months. And then when I moved, I started to get bubblings of ideas again. And that's when the idea came for the WOOTTON Windmill Mysteries, because I moved to where I live now. I had to sell my flat. And I kept walking past this windmill with the dog. And, we were in lockdown, and I just didn't want to write, lots of gory corpse scenes. And, we were all hearing about death statistics on the TV every day. Yeah. And I just wanted to write something that was just warmer and softer and had a greater role for humour. So, I just started. And so, you asked me about, writing a Christmas, a Christmas book. And the plan wasn't really I want to write a Christmas book. It's just that I started writing it in November 2 years ago, literally when I moved here. I suppose I was thinking about Christmas carols, and I just thought, having someone collapse and a suspicious death at a carol, at a carol service, innocent, lovely, fluffy, snowy carols on the green, would be a really dramatic, opening scenes for.
Before we jump into it, if you don't mind, would you be able to let everybody know what it's about so we can get some context in there? Because
sure.
last time's show, we just spoke for the entire show and then talked about the book at the end. So if you can, Vicky, if you don't mind, let everybody know what it's about, and then we can talk about it.
Okay. So this novel is called Murderatthechristmascarols, and so I'm writing this under a pen name of Izzie Harper. So it is about 3 women, 3 generations of women who team up. Yeah, and here we have one I prepared earlier. 3 generations of women who team up to solve a murder in the week before Christmas, and they live in a very cool converted windmill.
Nice. I actually saw a review for this which stated that I think there must have been a local person, and they mentioned how amazing it is to see kind of the local sort of architecture in the story, and that was a real benefit to them as a reader. So that's very, very cool to go and take in what's around you and use that in your stories. I think that's a very powerful thing to use.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. So Vicky, let's talk a little bit about, you've kind of already covered your experience with the publishing industry, but then how did you make the leap moving forward to self-publish your books? I know obviously you talked a little bit about researching that, but for a lot of people, that's quite a different tack to take in terms of, you've built this author career, you've been shortlisted and longlisted for awards. Clearly writing's very, very good. And then for you to say, right, I'm going to go and do this myself. I feel like it's a step that more and more people are going to start to take. But what made you take it in particular?
A few things actually. Whilst I was kind of going through the trad process, so the process with a traditional publisher, I was kind of thinking about the things that, why does this happen? Why do they do that? And why this and why that? And so when I was thinking about, so do I want to go back into that industry? Do I want all those things again? Do I want that pressure? Do I want to be out of control in lots of ways, about things? Do I want a thing that takes so long to get your book to market? And, because I'd spent a lot of time researching self-publishing, I know a lot of people who do it, very, very well. It just became more and more appealing, really. So there were 3 kind of key things, really. One of them I mentioned, which is speed, the speed with which, how long it takes to write a novel is how long it takes to write a novel. But you can do the editorial process, much more quickly because, you commission the person to edit your book, they edit it, they get it back to you, and then, you do the stuff. And then, you don't have to wait 4 months because your editor is working on, however many other authors' books, So, you can just get your book to market much more quickly. It's not uncommon these days for, when you get offered a deal, that it could take 2 years for your book to be published. Then meanwhile, you might have got one slice of your advance if you've got an advance or, whatever. So, so speed basically was what really appealed to me. The other thing is control. the control that you have over pricing, the cover that you use, the title, the blurb that goes on the back, the positioning of it, the creative control. So kind of deciding, making editorial decisions. Basically, everything comes back to me. And then the other thing is money, basically, is the royalty rates. The royalty rates with KDP. You get 35% if the book is £1.99, and you get 70% if it's £1.99 and over. So, there's a big difference there, really. And then your money comes through, I think it's 6 weeks after publishing or something like that. And then it's monthly. So, it's just much quicker, hopefully, to get money through as well. So the more I thought about those things, the more I just thought, it's a no-brainer, really. Let's just kind of go for it. And then during lockdown, I've been doing a lot of courses on digital marketing, digital advertising, learn how to do Facebook ads, etc. And then I just thought, do you know what? I don't want to be out of control of this stuff again. I want to be able to control my pricing. I want to be able to run my own marketing and advertising, and to be using what I'd learned and those skills. So it was daunting, at times I just kind of think, but yeah, it's good. I'm liking it.
I've got a question for you then, Vicky. For someone, you started writing, obviously, Murder at the Christmas Carols in November. How long did it take you to write? Because if it took you longer than 2 months, how do you then put yourself in a good position to write the Christmas book out of season, if that makes sense?
Okay, so I started writing it 2 years ago, and then went broke, and had to stop writing. So I didn't actually pick it up. I went to Harrogate in the summer. I decided on the Saturday morning at like 7 o'clock, I'm going to go to Harrogate today. I'm just going to drive up and stay overnight and come back. And actually, it was at Harrogate that I'd written about 10,000 words, of first draft of Murder at the Christmas Carols, and I just left it. So I hadn't touched it at all for over a year and a half. In fact, I couldn't even find the document. So it was at Harrogate where I just thought, do you know what? Write this bloody book. Just write the effing thing and get it out there, and get it edited, copy edited, proofread, etc., and just go for it. What have you got to lose? So I literally came back from Harrogate, and then the next day, was, where's this document on my computer? Can't find it. So I started again from scratch, basically. I had to start again from scratch. So I started writing this book that you've got on your left shoulder, Chris, in the third week of July. Yeah. So it was 4 months basically to write it, structure,
in the middle of summer.
Proofread, publish.
So that go back to the question then. During the summer when you were writing a Christmas book, how did you get yourself in the mindset of Christmas while the sun was blazing outside?
Have I just answered a completely different question and did it on a politician thing? Sorry.
It was a good story. I mean...
It's just the gin. Sorry, it's the gin.
No. I love that because you're very right. Because Harrogate, for example, we went there a couple of years ago. Those sort of events really inspire you to get back into the craft, don't they? Mixing with the same sort of people and it's very inspiring. But going back to the question, when you're writing not in kind of Christmas time, how do you as a writer, and people might want to do this, step into the world of Christmas writing, how do you write a Christmas story while it's not Christmas and you're not in that present kind of state?
Okay, well, I've got the right question now, so I'll give you the right answer. I don't know, really. I just kind of I didn't really intend on making it quite so Christmassy. I think obviously with the Christmas carols, it just basically got more and more Christmassy. So as I was writing it from kind of July and then August, September, and then through, I'm starting to get more Christmassy and think more. And I kind of just basically upped the, so I was listening to lots of carols when I was writing it, and I was playing lots of watching lots of snow, and so I just basically upped that side of things to make it very Christmassy.
It happens a lot on TV shows or panel shows and things. They record the Christmas special August time, and it's they're all dressed up in Christmas outfits, and it must be a bizarre feeling. But what kind of Christmas carols were you listening to? Was there one in particular that you had on repeat? Was anything that haunted you from that?
I really like proper choral carols. So, it's the whatever that's anything choral.
Nice.
Definitely.
So Vicky, let's take you back a little bit, because there's somebody out there now that have had their first book published, and they're growing disillusioned with the publishing world, in terms of that they feel like they've been abandoned and they're not really sure how to navigate the waters. So what would your advice be to somebody that was in a very similar position to what you were in?
Yeah, so I feel really
And
passionately.
let me just add to that. Sorry. Because this cookbook is currently smashing its way up the Amazon charts and, flying through into the top 100, which obviously for somebody who's doing it all themselves now is something that a lot of publishers would dream of. So you're clearly smashing it. So, that advice would be great for that person.
Yeah, thanks. I know. And also what's quite bizarre as well is it made its way into selling in America and Canada on its own. And before I started advertising there, it was kind of like, oh, hello, I'm getting sales from, well, it tells you where your sales are. And so I was like, oh, I need to do some adverts in the USA. And so what my advice would be, and I feel really passionately about the need for us as authors, to kind of get ourselves tooled up with the knowledge, to find out what the different publishing models are, and to really think critically. I don't mean in a criticism way, but analytically, about the model. So I was asking questions about, but why won't you reduce the price of my ebook? Why is my ebook $7.99? What do you mean you won't reduce it until the hardback, until the paperback comes out? And to think really critically about all of the things that you think affects your book. So none of these are about individuals, none of these are about individual publishers, which is why I haven't named people involved, because it's not about individuals, it's about the system, the publishing system. So my advice would be, and it's the same as what my advice is for newbie authors, who haven't subbed to agents yet, etc., is to really do your do due diligence and research the many publishing models, because the hardback model, the straight to paperback model, the digital first, the digital only, there are so many different models now of publishing, and they really vary. They still don't enable, in my opinion, authors to be able to earn an adequate income, any of them. So I personally think a lot of change needs to happen, and that was the key determiner for me in deciding to self-publish this new series. But is to really think analytically and do your research, because there are new publishers starting up all the time who have different, and the key thing really is about for me, it's about how much what sort of marketing, basically. You need to have a good product, you need to have a good book that's well written and well edited, in my opinion. And you need to have a good cover, you need a good title, you need to have a good blurb, and you need marketing, you need paid advertising, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
That was going to be my next sort of point, because some people would say that the publishing industry is not necessarily how good the book is, it's who to get that book out there and where they're going to put it. They would say that is obviously one of the big advantages. So obviously, as someone who's broke through into that Amazon, charts, what would your advice be in terms of marketing them? What would you ask, or, if you had 3 tips, let's say, for somebody, what would they be?
Yeah, I mean, I have, in the last 2.5 years, I've spent a lot of time researching different types of advertising, basically, and finding out how they work. And so, the 2 main ones really are, Facebook ads and Amazon ads. And I think they are essential. That's what I've used predominantly for, for this book. And it's worked. And lots of people say, what's interesting, and which is why I just kind of thought, hopefully it's inspiring for other people, is, there's nothing amazing about my book. There's nothing particular about my book. It strikes a chord because it's set for Christmas, etc. I think really a lot of it is down is down to advertising. And that would be, I mean, a lot of publishers are reluctant to do it, because, I mean, you can do, and I really believe I do a lot of, as you can see with my stupid videos on TikTok and Instagram and, whatever. And here's my dog. I do all that. And I really enjoy it. And I hope that comes across. And it really does help. It all helps. It all helps the algorithms, and it helps your ads. The organic marketing contributes to your paid, your paid marketing, as well. But I just think that the organic stuff on its own isn't enough, if you want to get into the bestseller lists, etc. And that's what I was going to say, is a lot of people say if you have just one book, don't advertise. People say if you're going to write a series, wait until the third book, etc. You won't make money, you won't recoup your costs. And I am way more than recouping the costs, my advertising costs of this book. And it started out at 99p, and it was 99p for 2 weeks, and it's been 99p. It's been $1.99 for the last 2 weeks. So that's basically, I think, what that's my view, is that to get the book as good as you can. And that is within our control as writers. If you're with a traditional publisher, the cover, the blurb, the title, etc., isn't as much within our control. But I think it's the advertising that makes the difference.
Yeah. I was going to say, without going into the nitty gritty of numbers, can we talk about costs in terms of, because some people are probably sat there thinking, well, how much are people spending, and what's a good amount, and what am I going to get back from this? And, all these questions will go around. Obviously, I'm not expecting you to delve into, well, I spend, £50 a day and I get £200 back and things like that. But again, just sort of general.
I started really small. I mean, I just did, the way I do my research is I find out what everyone does and how they do it. I try out a bit of all of it, and I figure out my own system. So, I kind of use a bit of everything. But I mean, most people who are sensible say start really small. So that's what I did. In the summer, I was using Facebook ads to advertise my courses. I'm a qualified teacher, so I teach a little bit of kind of basic writing. And I had some of those I put online. And, so I kind of started with those, really. And just start really small. Same with Amazon ads. Start with really small daily budget, really low bids. Know what you can spend, do your sums, keep an eye on it, and see how it goes.
Amazing. Chris, can I jump in before we've got to move on to the community questions very soon? I've got a review that I like to read about books, and of course we need to get this in before we get the questions from the community. So guys, if you do have questions for Vicky or for us, please start sending them in now. So this review for Murder at the Christmas Carols, Vicky, says, where is it? A cozy read, just as described, but also a page turner. I read it really quickly because you just get drawn into the story. The characters are engaging and likable, particularly the mother-in-law. The book reminded me of the Thursday Murder Club, perfect for relaxing over the Christmas holidays. This was a 5-star smashing review, as most of them are. First of all, how awesome to be referred to a book, the Thursday Murder Club, that sold over 1 million books. And but the question I have off the back of that is, how do you balance writing a festive, kind of heartwarming type of story with addressing kind of issues that may be a bit darker? How do you kind of balance that?
Yeah, I haven't really got too much dark stuff in this story. I really tried to weed that out. I mean, with cozies, you've got the things you must stick to. So you can't have any sex on the page. You're not allowed to swear. And my God, I found that so hard. How many times do you say, "Oh crikey," and "Oh blimmin' Nora," and flipping heck. So you can't swear, no violence on the page, no sex on the page, amateur sleuth, etc. The darkness, basically, I mean, the plot line I had in mind was much darker, because, I still had little bits of kind of police procedurally Tower Hamlet stuff going on. And so, no, Midsummer Murders. So just keep it really cozy. But I think one of the ways in which maybe my book is a little bit different is I really wanted it to be a page turner. I'm sure everyone does, basically, you know, because my publisher said, could you write some thrillers for us? You know, I really got into, you know, the thriller vibe. So, you know, I was gobbling up Harlan Coben and reading all about thriller writing and stuff, you know. So kind of when I started writing this cozy, it was sort of thrillery-ozy. So the lady who edited it said, she said to me, do you write thrillers? And I said, no, but well, yes and no, you know, kind of. So basically she said, it's really, really thrillery. And I said, well, is that good or bad? And so anyway, she explained sort of like, you know, how it works. So, you know, I used to have a lot of, and I still do have a lot of thrillery chapter endings, you know, cliffhangers and sort of you know, stuff like that. And then the Christmas, I mean, funnily enough, I really hate Christmas, which is so hilarious because kind of now with this book,
you know, like someone who hates Christmas.
I know.
I'm playing all these lovely carols. You know, I'm now this is the best Christmas I've ever had.
Well, I know you're on the Writing Community Chat Show, but that's a very big thing to say, Vicky. No, I'm joking. Yeah, you hadn't to say otherwise. Ross said, yeah, exactly. No, of course. But one tip then for writing something that is a page turner, because a lot of authors will aspire to kind of do that. How would you engage someone that when they finish a chapter, they go, I've got to turn the next page? How would you do that?
God, there's so many different ways to do it, aren't there? I mean, you know, it is the cliffhangery thing of leaving something, you know, with a question, you know, with something's in the middle, you know, a conversation that's broken off, you know, a revelation, and then you don't find out who has said what or done what, or you find out who, but you don't find out the what. So you need to carry on to find out the what or the who, you know, or the how or the when. Just basically stop just stop before you want to.
Love that. Okay, Chris, shall we jump into, we got 8 minutes left, the writing community questions.
Yeah, as long as you're going to play the video, mate.
I will, just for you. If you guys can send some questions in, there's a couple coming already, but please carry on. In the meantime, we will ask the staple questions and we'll play this little video first. And it's not the one we played last week, so Chris might freak out. Clearly missing part 1 and 2 there.
That was my criticism.
Of course.
It's like, we can't be at part 3 already, mate. Like, what's wrong with the question time video?
Oh,
it's a good video.
Like. Where is it?
Have I talked enough?
There you go, mate. Have you ever heard the phrase, if it's not broke, don't fix it?
No, but this is the thing, right? So, Vicky, before season 10, I played part 1, 2, 3. Season 10 is now messy. It just goes all the way through to community questions. So that's why there's no part 1, 2, 3.
It didn't work today, did it, mate? Backfired.
Not really. So, Chris, start us off with the staple questions, please.
Did I talk too much? Sorry.
No.
No, so the first staple question that we have, Vicky, is if you could take any fictional character and make that character your own, who would you choose and why?
Okay, so
Ooh.
I'm not really sure that Amy and Nick kind of got their just desserts. So I kind of think they need to come and live in Little WOOTTON, and then I kill them.
Wow. How would you bring them together again? Like, or would this be a complete rewriting of Gone Girl in terms of, let's say Gone Girl doesn't exist, Amy and Nick are still massive somethings, and then we bring them into your novel and we kill them. How does that work out?
Well, I guess, I mean, they could come, you know, for a holiday or something like that, you know, little holiday by the sea in Little WOOTTON. They come to look at the windmill, something like that, you know, and they just, I don't know, get bumped off.
Which order would you bump them off in?
Amy, Nick.
Would Nick put up a fight?
Not much really. I think he's a bit of a wimp.
Amazing. Okay. Next question. If you could take the ending of anything and change it, and reasons why, but this can be a book, a TV show, or a film, what ending are you going to change and what are you going to do with it?
So, by the way, I have to say, I mentioned Gillian Flynn because she really, really, really is one of my all-time favourite female crime writers. I think her writing is just amazing. However, this is the second. My other favourite female crime writer, Tana French. So, so changing the ending. So this is, in the woods. And so in this book, Adam finds out who,
Spoilers,
so
by the way.
He changes his identity, Rob. He finds out who kills the person in the present day murder. But because it all links up with his childhood, when he went into the woods with two friends and he came back and his two friends didn't, we don't actually find out what happened to them. So the ending that I would like to change, I'm afraid, Tana, is to find out what happened to the other two.
I'm pretty sure if it's a Stephen King ending, they were abducted by aliens.
Possibly.
Or eaten by a massive spider.
I've got to scroll back a minute because there was a funny question I saw earlier.
There's some really good questions.
Oh, there you go. Linda had a good question to start us off. If you have to get rid of a body, which of Santa's reindeer do you feed him to?
The hungriest.
So the body is a him, by the way.
The hungriest first.
That's fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, which one gets less praise? Because surely they're the ones starving of the praise in terms of.
I can't remember.
You won't feed Rudolph. Oh, maybe you would because his nose is red anyway, so the blood would.
Well, he is leading and doing all the hard work trying to navigate, so he's probably the hungriest.
Yeah, true. Yeah, we'll go with that. Rudolph.
Thanks for your question, Linda. Okay. Halo says, what advertising methods don't work in your experience?
All of the methods that I've talked about, can be very expensive. You need to be really careful with your budgets and, all of that stuff. And so then they can really, really not work just because you waste a lot of money. And then other stuff really is trial and error. It kind of depends a lot on who you are, what your book's like, what you're good at, etc. I'm not sure if I can say too much more about that.
Yep.
Some things are very time consuming. Some organic methods are very, very time consuming for very little, kind of sort of reward. But I suppose it depends, mainly I'm looking for kind of ebook readers. So the market is different.
Great answer.
I suppose if we push you on that a little bit with the advertising methods, how do you know the difference between somebody who's going to deliver results in advertising for you and somebody who's just saying that they can? Because there's an awful lot of people out there who say, I've been an editor for all this time and I do all these things and I've been in marketing for all this time and I can promise you these. How do you know the difference between the people who are posing and the people who are actually serious about what they do and will deliver you some sort of results for your money?
Yeah, it's a really, really good question. I mean, my belief is, and this is the same with everything, is that, if I was going to employ somebody to do, to run adverts for me, I need to know how they work myself to start with, because as you said, unless I know that, unless I know what the key metrics are and how to evaluate them, I'm not going to know whether they're bullshitting me or not. And so that's really important. So really for everything with me is I have to do it all myself first. I mean, that may mean I'm a bit of a control freak, but I've been self-employed and run business a lot. So you kind of need to be a bit, So for me, I need to be able to do everything myself to start with, or at least to kind of, to know the basics of how it works and to do it. So that I can evaluate what someone else is saying. And there are a lot of people. I mean, I get a lot of people saying, let me do your adverts for you. And I ask them a couple of quick questions, and then it's obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
So it is a great question, Chris, because Instagram post spammed constantly with promote it on this, promote us on that, and it's the same everywhere at the moment. So yeah, you're right. Adverts, emails all the time are saying, "Oh, we'll do this for you, we'll do that for you." So it's a minefield at the moment, and I think it's great, Vicky, like you said, to have your own sort of vetting process. That's a really good idea. Okay, one more of the guys, and then we can finish off the questions with our end questions, Chris. Okay, Halo says, if you could bring any of your characters to life to kill them, who would you bring to life to murder and why?
So if I could import them into my life, who would I like to... Is that what the question is?
Yeah, I think it's one of your characters that you've created. Make them real, then... kill them.
So who do I find really irritating? Do you know, I mean, it's really hard in this series. There isn't really anybody that I don't like, because I've created them to be quite nice people.
Yeah. I'd like to flip that. There is one more I'd like to ask, and that'll bring us back up a second. And it's Joe's question. It's a really good one. She says, have you ever incorporated some of the traditional cozy elements, such as cookery or vicars or pets in this book? And how important are these cozies? Or are these in cozies?
Yeah, I love that. I love that question. There's a whole big thing, you know, with kind of, cooking cozies and pet cozies and paranormal cozies. And I don't really have any elements of as a focus, you know, of any of those three in my book. However, I do have a dog, and the dog's called Rebus. So Ellie has a cockapoo. Nice. Well, I mean, hello. Why, you know, cockapoos are just amazing, of course. And of course, the dog had to be called Rebus. And then there's a little puppy at the end, and she's called Agatha. Nice. So there's a small role, you know, for dogs. But because my main character is a cleaner, you know, she runs a cleaning business basically, and she does the cleaning herself, you know. And then the lady who was editing said, "Oh, why don't you make it a cleaning cozy?" But I didn't want it to be a cleaning cozy. I didn't, you know, I didn't want that to be the focus of the story. I didn't want it to be, you know, murder at the cleaning job. I wanted it to be, you know, murder in the English village with the windmill at the carols. So, yeah, and I think it just depends what your interests are. For me, my interest is the puzzle and the setting and the windmill and the village. But yeah, I mean, it's a great question. And I love those books. I love the ones with pets, and, you know, and I love the paranormal ones. The covers for paranormal cozies are just divine.
I don't think I've ever seen a paranormal cozy.
Yeah, I mean, you've made me want to go away and write the cleaning cozy if, you know, real murderers, the people who go and clean up after these people. That in itself is a brilliant idea that just sort of came out. The
dinner loading cozies, and there's I mean, I just think that's what's amazing about the genre, really, is that just the possibilities are infinite.
Brilliant. All right, Chris, last question. You know what it is? Well,
this is a bit of a morbid question. I feel like you've kind of got to a certain point with this already, but if you're on your deathbed, you're looking back at your writing career, what does success look like to you? What would you be happy with?
So I think that success is to have simply, you know, written a novel and finished it, really. You know, that for me is kind of there, you know, several times over. To, you know, have had my debut novel, you know, published and optioned for TV, and to be shortlisted for the John Creasy Dagger, you know, etc. I'm kind of way there. You know, obviously that lacked sales. You know, my sales were good, but just not good enough. And then to be getting some sales coming in, and to be, you know, all I really want from writing is to earn a living. You know, is to earn a living from doing what I just love more than anything in the world. And so just to be earning, you know, if I'm earning a living in time, that is success. That's good enough for me, more than good enough.
Amazing.
Like it.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Before we do say thank you and wrap this up, Vicky, the final question is, where can people find your brand spanking new Murder at Christmas Carols book, and where can they find out more about you as a person as well?
Yeah, sure. So the book is available only on Amazon at the moment. So there's ebook and paperback. So that's on Amazon. So internationally, wherever you are. And to find out more information about me, I have a website, which is vickynewham.com. And if you want to get in touch with me, I'm on lots of social media. If you want to pop me a line or ask me a question or whatever, I love hearing from people.
Absolutely. Guys, the links to the book, the website, and Vicky's social things will be in the description to the podcast. If you're listening back, they will be in the description to the video. Thank you so much. Please, 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 please tune in to our Christmas show Friday. It will be a blast, whether you're watching it live or listening back. Vicky, thank you so much for joining us. Your story is amazing. It's been wonderful to hear from you. I hope you've had a good time. I know the audience have. So from us, thank you so much and goodbye.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and before we go, Chris, because you forget this, it's Tuesday. So our See You Next Tuesday show live on Twitter Spaces is literally starting in about 4 minutes. Because obviously we knew we had this interview today with Vicky, which was fantastic, and we couldn't not put it in. So it's been in there now. We've watched it. But if you want to continue over on Twitter Spaces, we'll be there, and we'll be talking about writing, mindfulness, and anything else that you want. You know, you can leave
Mindfulness?
Yeah, mindfulness.
I'm a Buddhist.
So maybe you should join and we can meditate together. That'd be good.
That'd be a very quiet show on Twitter, Chris.
But we'll be there in about 3 minutes. So, you know,
maybe 4.
If you want to join us, then please do.
Guys, thank you again. Tune in Friday, but thank you. See you soon, guys. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.